Hello everybody, welcome to a World of Warship Blitz video. Today's video is British Destroyer video number 4, the Tier 7 Jervis, which is the Tier 7 British Destroyer, an early release here onto the press account, where you will see it compared against other tech tree destroyers. I believe that my Pan-Asian destroyers might be fully upgraded, so it may not be a completely fair comparison, but anyway. Let's see how close we get. Right, so the Jervis, let's go look at some numbers, some lovely numbers. Right, survivability, 12,600, which is, I suspect, going to be fairly low because there are some Tier 6 destroyers from other nations that have higher hit points than that. The damage reduction is 10% flooding and fire resistance, ignoring the Citadel protection because, well, Citadel never gets hit on a destroyer, so go figure. Damage reduction of 3% and torpedo damage reduction of 3%, which I think is going to be on the low side compared to other destroyers because those numbers look very similar to the numbers that we saw in the Tier 6. 35.57 knots, which is a smidgen faster than the 34 point blah 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 knots that the Icarus had. Much slower acceleration at 7.55 seconds rather than 6.9 something seconds of the Icarus. However, this maximum traverse speed looks a little bit unrealistic at 11.34, which is a full 1.24 degrees per second faster than the Icarus base. That is incredible turn velocity. Turn time is a 3.12 seconds. Now the Icarus had 2.55, but 3.12 is not shabby. I don't think there'll be many destroyers that beat that. So from a summary perspective, it is not tough, it is not armoured, it is not fast, but it accelerates and turns well. Let us go and find a ship that we can compare this with. Let's just start at the left. So the Mahan has a few more hit points than the Icarus, the Jervis, so it has 400 more hit points. It has a 6% damage reduction rather than a 3% damage reduction, so it's much tougher from the armour perspective. The other damage reductions are the same. It's slower at 34 knots. I think it gets a speed boost, which will help it, but 36 is the Jervis, 30 or 35. 35.57, so it's about a knot and a third slower. Time to full speed, 7.98 seconds, that's pretty quick. I think it's 7.55 for the Jervis from memory. Much slower in the turn, maximum traverse speed is 8.8 degrees per second. The turn time at 3 seconds is roughly similar to the Jervis. So the Jervis, tougher ship from an armour perspective, maybe not from a hit points perspective. And that's basically what that has over the Jervis, to be honest, until we get to guns. Right, hit points for this is actually less. The Akatsuki is less than the Jervis. In fact, I'm wondering if the Akatsuki is less than the Tier 6 for Buki. It'd be something to look up. The flooding and fire resistance at 10% is the same, pretty consistent across all destroyers. Damage reduction is better than the Jervis at 4.5, but still not the 6% of the Mahan. The speed of this is much higher, about 3 knots higher at 38.62 versus 35.57. 9 seconds to get to full speed, which is hardly much of a difference over 7.55. Well, it's a couple of seconds slower, but still, it's pretty quick when you've been driving battleships around for a while. A lot slower maximum traverse speed, so probably 2.5 degrees per second less turn. And the turn time at 3.3 is roughly similar to the Jervis. The Jervis is a little bit quicker in that turn time. So the Akatsuki is, well, a little bit better armoured, a little bit faster. Liebrecht Mars, it's another slow destroyer, but it's still faster than the Jervis. But it has a lot more hit points. The Jervis has the 12,600. This has 13,900, which is 1,300 more hit points. Has a 4.5% damage reduction rather than a 3%, but the other damage reductions are similar. It goes essentially a knot faster. It goes 0.97 a knot faster if you want to be precise. Is the 36.54 versus 36.57, 35.57, sorry. 2 seconds slower to get to full speed, so it is a bit more sluggish, much more sluggish in the turn at 8.7. That 11.234 degrees per second in the turn is just incredible. So let's see how that runs in battle. We'll skip over to Leningrad, which is a ship that I don't rate particularly highly, and it's a premium anyway. Hit points, this thing has hit points all for Africa over all the other ships, 14,000 versus 12,600. 4.5% damage reduction, but the other reductions are the same as any other destroyer. Nearly 40 knots, so that's basically 4 knots faster. Time to full speed, much slower acceleration. Wow, a lot slower. So 7.55 for the Jervis. It's 12.66. So that is basically 5 seconds slower. It's not quite half as fast. It takes twice as long to accelerate up, but it gets to a much higher top speed. Maximum traverse speed is a respectable 8.4 degrees per second, but only respectable when compared with other non-Jervis Tier 7 destroyers. And a 3.9 second turn time is a little bit slow. The Minsk, you wait till we get to the Tashkent, that shall be very interesting. This is fully upgraded, so take it all with a pinch of salt, because it has a whole lot more hit points at 14,375, don't worry. The Jervis will get closer to that. It has a 4.5% damage reduction, so pretty standard for everything except British destroyers, which are weaker. 35 knots, it's a bit slower than the Icarus. 9 seconds to full speed, 2 seconds slower. Even with the traverse and the historical camo on, the thing is still only doing 9.26 degrees per second in the turn, and 3.12, which is the same as the Jervis, but that turn traverse speed is still, well, it's about 2 degrees per second slower than the Jervis. So the Jervis is absolutely agile for Africa. Right. Unless that's a mistake, of course. I'm sure it will make up for it in this department. Guns, it has 6 guns, so that's an increase of 1 gun. It looks like they finally are in turrets. Let's just go have a wee look at this thing. Yep, it's finally got tiny little turrets there, and when I mean tiny little turrets, with guns that are 120mm cannon caliber, they are tiny little turrets. 6 second reload, which is going to be pretty slow, I'm sure. 8.11 kilometer range, which I'm sure isn't going to be that great. Exactly the same damage as the Tier 6 at 310 with 3% fire chance for HE and a 330% for AP. 12 degrees per second, exactly the same traverse as the Tier 6. These guns, we're going to be struggling to find anything as weak as these guns. Akatsuki has 6 second reload, which is the same. It has 6.9 kilometer range, which is finally less than 8.11, but its guns are harder hitting with a 4% fire chance. 330 HE and a 350 AP damage, but glacial turret traverse speed. While we are here, let us go and find the Shiratsuyu so that we can compare that. The Shiratsuyu, which is actually a real problematic ship. It's from a hit points perspective, it's basically the same as the Jervis. It's actually weaker from a hit points perspective. The gunboats really are quite problematic. It's slower, and it's much less maneuverable at 8.5 degrees per second. But we grabbed it for the guns. This has 5 guns, 5.5 second reload, 7.2 kilometer range, which is better than which is not as good as the Jervis. The Jervis at that 8.11 is looking pretty good. Well, compared with the Japanese, of course. And this has better, harder hitting guns slightly at 330 for HE with a 4% fire chance and 350 for AP, but the same glacial turret traverse. Let us go for the 127s on the Mahan, which is a fairly standard sort of American destroyer turret. 4 second reload, 5 guns with 4 second reload, 7.2 kilometre range, so it's a bit shorter range than the Jervis. The Jervis is starting to get some range on some of these things, which is nice. Main battery HE is 330, 3% fire chance, so it's basically does the same damage as the Japanese. It just basically the Japanese takes 50% longer on the reload. 15 degrees per second turret traverse, which is quite nice. So the Jervis actually has some range, which is nice to see. It even has range over the German, so maybe this is the British thing at higher tiers, who knows? Because I can tell you the range of the French destroyers is fantastic for slashing attacks, although they have a rapid reload. The Liebrecht Mars has 5 guns, 128mm, 4.5 degrees per second reload, 5 second reload, not degrees per second, 4.5 second reload, which is basically 25% off the Jervis with 5 guns. Does 290 HE damage, which is finally something that does less damage than the Jervis. Of course, it makes it up for it on the AP at 450 as opposed to the 330 of the Jervis. But even the HE, as pathetic as it is, has a 4% fire chance rather than the 3% fire chance of the Jervis. So the Jervis just has range. The Minsk should have range, and it does, the same range as the Jervis, or 0.01 of a kilometre less to be precise. 5 second reload rather than the 6 seconds, so the slow reload on the British destroyers is continuing, whereas the other destroyers are starting to get a little bit faster. The damage is 360 HE, 4% fire chance, which is a good 50 points more damage per shell landing. Don't forget this thing gets a rapid reload as well. And the elite skill can upgrade your chance of fire slightly. Main AP damage 400 versus 330, and did I mention this thing has a rapid reload? This thing is fully spec'd, so it's got fire director and all the rest of it, so it's not really a fair comparison. I'm really sorry about that. Maybe should we come back when we get it fully spec'd and we can compare it with the Pan Asians, right? Torpedoes. 10 torpedoes, the same as the Tier 6, and they are looking like exactly the same. Now, one of the features of the British cruisers is that when you get up to about Tier 5 to Tier 8, apart from a slight increase in range, I think at Tier 8, the torpedoes are pretty much the same all the way through. Reload time of 60.8 seconds, which is pretty slow indeed, especially for torpedoes that do low damage like this. 2,900. The torpedo range is 8.11 kilometres, same as the base gun range, although once we upgrade the gun director, the gun range will stretch out over the torpedo range. Intermediate speed of 64 knots, which is pretty much the same as the Tier 6, 15% flooding chance. It has some AA, but we're not going to really go and compare the AA apart from to realise that everybody else has better AA. Let us just go have a look at the surface detection, which at 5.76 is actually 0.12 of a kilometre better than the base surface detection of the Icarus, which was pretty darn good. So this, I think, may be unshunned material. Let's see how close to 5 kilometre surface detection we can get when we pump it up. Oh, hold on a second. Right. Okay, 6 kilometre surface detection, which is slightly worse than the 5.88 kilometre of the Icarus. My apologies to all. Right, now how much of that torpedo stuff can I remember? Okay, so it's got nothing on these torpedoes. These have 0.3 kilometre greater range. They do 500 more hit points worth of damage. They reload faster by about 6 seconds. There's 9 of them rather than 10 of them, but 3 sets of 3 configurations with Japanese tight, narrow spreads is actually pretty good. These are pretty good torpedoes. 19% chance of flooding, which is 4% better than the British ones, and they travel a couple of knots faster. And from a concealment perspective, the 6 of the Jervis, 5.62. This is a bit of a stealthier ship. So, yeah. The Shiratsuyu, the concealment is shocking at 6.42, go figure. And the Torpedoes, 67.5 seconds, is very slow reloading. Much greater damage at 3,500, which is pretty good. Torpedo range 8.1, which is actually about the same as the Jervis. So there you go. Slightly fast, 3 knots fast torpedoes with a slightly higher chance of flooding. So the Jervis torpedoes aren't doing too bad, especially if you compare it with the likes of the Mahan, which is only 6.6 kilometre range. Its concealment is 6. You can bring it down with the concealment mod, and I recommend that you do, because you'll get some stealth torping capability, because 0.6 of a kilometre bubble for stealth torping means you're spending too much time trying to make sure that you can stay undetected as you launch those torpedoes. You just need that extra band. 51-second reload, which is 9 seconds or almost 10 seconds faster reload. 200 damage more per torpedo, 3 times 4. Now, admittedly, that's 12 torpedoes, although a broadside consists of only 8 because you have to turn around because the front torpedo tubes are shoulder mounted. Glacial 58 knots, go figure, 16% chance of flooding, which is slightly better than the Jervis, but nothing to write home about. Its concealment is exactly the same as the Jervis at 6 kilometres. Liebigmaß, German torpedoes actually aren't that bad. They don't do great damage, but they reload real quick. They have reasonable range at 7.2, which is still 0.9 of a kilometre less than the Jervis, but with 5.72 kilometre surface detection and the capability of dragging that right down with some concealment, you get some reasonable stealth torping. 62 knots rather than 64 essentially of the Jervis. Very low chance of flooding at 12%, which is still pretty high, but still not the 19% of the Japanese. And did I mention that its concealment is pretty good at 5.72? In fact, its concealment is excellent. Problem is it doesn't get smoke to supplement its concealment. The Minsk has torpedoes. Of course, they reload fast. They hit it hard at 3,000 rather than 2,900, so it's not that much harder, but they're let down badly by the range and the low flooding chance. Relatively quick reloading, in fact 15 seconds faster, which is quite a lot faster. But yeah, as you can see, 6.3 kilometre surface detection, which is 0.3 of a kilometre greater surface detection than the Jervis. And yeah, well, there's no way you're going to bring that under 4.5. So essentially this torpedoes here are point defence. It is a gunboat. The Gajimata we will go back to once we have tricked out the Jervis, which we'll trick out right now. And we will armory it up. Oh, hello, we're under purple blueprints, so let's just go to town. Okay. Okay, the elite ship bonus is maximum traverse speed of +10 with traverse acceleration of +10%, +5% traverse speed, and +10% traverse acceleration, which is going to be insane, to be fair. I'm sort of tempted to go for the torpedo tube reload time. Finally, let's just check our stats before, because we might be outturning our guns here. So let us load up some historical camo, which is fairly destroy average historical camo of main battery firing range, torpedo range, traverse speed, and surface detection. The camo looks very, very World War II-ish, very nice olive drab. Go figure. We will load up some of these, our favourite crew rations and all the rest of it. Because I'm probably going to have a battle, we'll drop in some of those. Some equipment. So, we're definitely going to be dropping that sucker in there. Right. Now, let's go see what's happened, because we've put that camo on. Let's go see what our traverse speed is. So it's 11.34. That is pretty fast. That is pretty fast indeed. What's our turret traverse doing? Our turret traverse is... okay then, so I definitely need to put the turret traverse on. Okay, because basically we are going to be outturning these guns shockingly. In fact, I would probably say that I may not be able to put steering on this, because if I did so, my maximum traverse speed is still going to be, so 14.4 degrees turret traverse, 13.34 maximum traverse speed. So at this stage, I think this clever thing to do with the armory is probably to do that, because 3% off a minute is actually starting to count for something, and you are going to be firing a lot of that because of the way that the torpedoes get ripple fired off different racks. You're going to be wanting these things to reload as quickly as possible. And let us go and have a look at what we put in that middle equipment slot. Acceleration, it's already got good acceleration, it's already got good traverse. Never done that with a destroyer before. Right, okay then, let's go drop a commander in. We'll just grab the guy with the Jervis. Where are we? Jervis, or Icarus, sorry. We'll assign him. Thank you very much for your retraining experience. What is his commander skills? By the time you get to the Jervis, he should probably be about 6 or 7. So let us level him up. Okay, thank you, and level him up again. So the Jervis, let's just check, what does the Jervis get in the way of special skills? We get sonar and fuel smoke. So we get 4 fuel smoke and 2 sonar, which means it's reset time. I would probably go with these, because they are the better way of detecting torpedoes, just in case you get damaged with steering and you're out of range of anything, you can wait it out. I generally go for this with destroyers. That should be quite silly for acceleration for this guy. Less than 33% if it's plus 33 plus traverse speed. Okay, so I've got some choices to make there. I'm definitely going to get that. There's no point in getting anything other than this. And there I'm going to get a choice. And I'm going to go for, because I've skimped on some of these traverse things, let's give ourselves the opportunity to get out of jail. So there we go. Let's do a quick comparison between this and the, let's go British, Pan-Asian. Right, let's do the Gajimata. Do some basic stuff like hit points. Okay then, so the Jervis has slightly more hit points, but the Gajimata has that 4.5% damage reduction. From a speed perspective, roughly similar speed, although the agility of the Jervis is incredible. From a guns perspective, 8.72 versus 9.04. So the Gajimata has the gun range, and as for the damage, they look pretty basically the same. Torpedoes, the Gajimata has slightly slower loading torpedoes. It has 2x5, same as the Jervis, but they're deep running, same range, slightly faster, but much harder hitting by about 1,000. Oh no, by about 500. Now that we've upgraded them. Right, so there we go, comparison versus the Gajimata. Oh, let's go have a look at the concealment, 5.16 for the Gajimata, and for the Jervis 5.16, which I'd probably have to say is probably, apart from the Liebrecht Mass, obviously, which starts below 6 kilometre surface detection, is probably the fastest. Right, the best surface detection. For a destroyer, let's pop into a game. This is tier 7, so this could be a bit of a disaster. We are against them. We're against tier 8s. We've got the Hiryu, Algeri, and the Fiji are nasty. The Akatsuki, I'm not too worried about him. On our side, we have a Mikhail Kutuzov, which is nice, but the Amalfi is very welcome. Right, my insane acceleration should help me get into the cap. Okay, here we go. Of course, I don't have great top speed after I do that massive turn. Le Terrible, the Tier 8 French destroyer, just murders this, gets straight into that cap. The enemy sending out planes, do a bit of a probe. That is going to be a bit of a concern if the enemy sends out planes, because my smoke is very short lasting. However, my concealment circle is quite small. So he's doing the anti-aircraft stuff. So who have we got? We've got Hero versus got a cargo on our team. So he's going to try and be harassing those enemy planes. We're in the capture zone. One of our friendly destroyers is smoked up. I have no idea what he's smoking. Oh my god, the angles for the, was that directed at me? Oh, maybe not. The torpedo angles are shockers. Okay, we've got something out there. I'm detected. I have no idea what I'm detected by. Well, I think that might be something to do with it. I don't know. No. Okay, so at the moment what I'm doing is I'm holding the cap. Man, those torpedo angles are shockers. They are shockers, shockers, shockers. Okay. I'm not detected. I'm not detected. I'm going to be detected by aircraft at some point if I'm... It's rather unusual. So the enemy seems to have forgotten that there's a centre cap game. I'm detected again. I suspect that that's probably going to be some sort of destroyer. Let's hope he's not sneaking in behind this island. Oh, Bismarck. Nice, 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 nice. Here we go. Right. Sorry, Mr. Bismarck. Just going to... I do miss the Japanese tight torp angles. Let's see what he's doing. He's cutting in, which means that that's essentially a big 1 minute wait for my torpedoes to come back on steam. I'm not even going to hit that Fiji. It's really unfortunate, that is. Am I going to shoot at him? I don't think I want to shoot at him, to be fair. Okay. In fact, what I could probably do is sneak around behind this island, because although I'm not doing a lot of damage, I am keeping the cap green. This is very much a keeping the cap green ship. How's our torpedoes doing? Here's the Bismarck. We're detected. He's detected. Okay then. Right. I'm not sure if this is entirely smart, but I'm going to try it anyway. We're going to YOLO. Now he's going to... What's he doing with his guns? Oh, he's turning away. So I'm going to have to worry about his secondaries and definitely worry about his mates. And we are going to... And we're going to let him have it. Ah. Ah. And we've got half of our tubes emptied, half of them full, and I just need to dump the rest out because otherwise I'm not reloading. Okay. That hurt. Oh, it's Fiji. Okay, we finally managed to get ourselves... I'm not even aiming at anything. Okay. I probably should have just done a bot battle, to be fair. I'm not being particularly helpful for the team. Oh, here's still moving. Ooh. Well, okay then. That's unfortunate. He's launched his torpedoes, but I'm pretty sure if I focus into those... Okay, I don't have rapid acceleration, so I'm not sure if this King George V is going to last long enough, but I reckon if I pop around the other side of this island here, give him a nasty surprise, my spokes back on stream, my torpedoes are reloaded, my torpedo angles are shocking, my entire team is dealing with him. I'll be lucky to get any scraps, but let's just see if we can. Maybe I'll just fire at him as well. Yeah, no, I'm gonna... Oh, look at that. Okay. That's the most useful 152 points I've ever got. Okay then, well, this carrier is just history. There's too many ships surrounding him. There's torpedo bombers going in. That's my game. Capture a cap, 152 points worth of damage. Not going to get a lot of trophies for that sucker. Our team was way too effective, but anyway, shocking torpedo angles. I'm tempted to dump some torpedoes in the water at the start of the game so that when I'm firing, I'm unloading one tube at a set of tubes at a time so that I keep alternating between them rather than having to fire all 10 and miss with all 10. As far as our performance goes, okay then, well, 150 damage, one capture zone and one ship destroyed adds up to a lot. Adds up to the equivalent of at least 17,148. That poor Nagato. What does he think? Okay then, yeah, well, not a lot to see there. So that is the Jervis. Okay, it's got sonar, which is nice, which I probably could have used because I was detected by something, and I was sort of saving my sonar until I could really see what was going on. Fantastic agility, reasonable range guns, which maybe I should have made more use of, to be fair. Yeah, I've still got to make my mind up. Nice camo though. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.